for. And even then, the only person willing to protest was his uncle. When you can't attract a committed hater and have to call in a family favour, you're done. Next time, he'll be doing his own heckling. That is Luis Rubiales. No! Yeah, that's him. This says, I must say, Nick, I have noticed some actually good stuff in our country recently. My mum got diagnosed with cataracts and got seen within a couple of days, and there is a lot of funding available for education now. Companies can send employees to upskill, and Starmer pays for it all. Yeah, I'm not sure that's entirely true. Starmer doesn't necessarily pay for it all, but he's making it happen. He is making it happen. Of course, if you read the right-wing press, then you won't hear any of that at all, ever. And in order to try to, fill in the gaps in their coverage about how everything is dreadful in this country and all the rest of it that you read on a daily basis, the Daily Mail collared some 100-year-old people thinking, wow, this will be a piece of cake. Headline, our country has gone to the dogs. What our World War II heroes really think of Britain today. This is an article in which the Daily Mail went in search of disgruntled old people. And guess what? They found some.
Oh, fabulous.
Or at least they thought they had. You know, if you just read the headline like most people, then you will leave with a distorted view of what these World War II heroes actually said. And then you can go straight to the comment section and write the usual garbage about only the Clacton gas bag can sort this nation out. Vote Nige.
I'm a nutcase.
But read on and you might find something you didn't expect. A 102-year-old World War II veteran has described the conflict as a total waste of flipping time after one of her fellow heroes said the sacrifices were not worth it and the country has definitely gone to the dogs. That is an indoor dog. Robbie Hall, 102, christened as Queenie, served in Bomber Command during the Second World War. Remembrance commemorations have been held this week, marking 85 years since the end of the First World War and also honouring casualties of other battles. But Mrs. Hall, who attended a Downing Street event earlier this month, shared with the Daily Mail her despair at ongoing battles, including in Ukraine and Gaza. Queenie now feels despair at continuing conflicts and how political leaders today have not learned any lessons from the First and Second World Wars. When recalling the Second World War this week, she told the Daily Mail, all I can say is the war is, in my opinion, a total waste of flipping time. Which is what counts as swearing for 100-year-olds.
Disgusting.
Flipping, she said, a couple of times. And, you know, while I respect the elderly, we should admit that just because a person has reached a milestone age, that their opinions are worth hearing. Just because you're older than someone else doesn't mean to say you're right about anything. I mean, look at Donald Trump. He's ancient.
Don't be rude.
Nodding to the continued warfare in Ukraine and Gaza, 102-year-old Queenie said, we've got two big conflicts going on. It's getting to be a very dangerous world. She says, I'm 102, I'll be 103 in a few months' time. I've got through 5 monarchies, and I just don't understand why someone will always want what somebody else has got. You know, and I agree with that. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again.
Rock and roll!
It's called greed, is what it is. I mean, it's usually little men who unaccountably find themselves holding sway over millions of people because those millions of people were gullible enough to elect them to a position of power for which they were completely unsuited.
I love the poorly educated.
Robbie Hall, 102, christened as Queenie, served in Bomber Command during the Second World War. She was recently welcomed at 10 Downing Street by Prime Minister Keir Starmer at an event on November the 3rd, and she described him as nice. What? She said, I found him a very nice man. Whether or not I agree with his politics is neither here nor there, she said. Well, it's here and there for the right-wing press, who weren't expecting her to say that, I bet. I'm amazed they printed that. Not really fitting into the rest of the paper, which is almost all persuading us that Keir Starmer is the worst human that ever walked the earth. But their unhinged vitriol and aggression was no match for 102-year-old Queenie. Let's see if they have any more luck with another centenarian. There's Paul Terry, 100, originally from Wolverhampton, now living near Eastbourne. He participated in remembrance events this week, having only just been discharged after 2 weeks in hospital. Mr. Terry told of having misjudged the pedals on the car that he still drives, collided with a barrier coming out of Eastbourne General Hospital's car park after visiting his wife on a ward. and he was full of praise for those treating him, saying, quote, "People go on about foreigners in hospitals. I couldn't fault them in any way.
What?
This is not going as well as the Mail must have expected. They're accidentally eliciting praise for foreigners from 100-year-olds.
Oh, no.
Paul Terry, 100, said, "It was the most loving care I could hope for. If all people were like they are in hospitals, we wouldn't have all this hatred and racism you see elsewhere." Oh, blimey, it just got worse. "The flags on the lampposts outside the Mail building must be drooping at half-mast by now. How can they get back on track? Because so far it's played to, lost to." The reflections from Ms. Hall and Mr. Terry come after fellow veteran 100-year-old D-Day hero Alec Penstone spoke about Britain having gone to rack and ruin. Oh, finally, they've got one. He stunned ITV's Good Morning Britain presenters Susanna Reid and Adil Ray by saying on air that the sacrifice of the lost men of his generation wasn't worth what the country has become. That's the ticket. The grandfather of two said, "What we fought for was our freedom, but now it's a darn sight worse than when I fought for it." Well, you know, that's obviously not true. But it makes such a good story that a week after he said it, it's still occupying acres of newsprint and so much space online they had to open a new wing on the internet to fit in all the replies in agreement from anonymous bot accounts with 3 followers, 10 flags in their bio and an official blue tick. And he followed up by telling the Daily Mail, "I don't know what the hell we fought for and why we lost so many wonderful men. The country's gone to rack and ruins. There are too many people with their fingers in the till," he said. Can you believe that, Podger?
I can't comment on that.
And rather than his anguish being fueled by any kind of hostility, Mr. Penstone stressed, "I'm not against foreigners coming into the country, provided they behave themselves," he said. And again, he appears to be deviating from the script. This is not what was expected. These old people aren't being cooperative. Even when they say something that the right-wingers would agree with, they follow it up with something intelligent and nuanced that they wouldn't. I'm not against anyone from anywhere, as long as they behave themselves. Which counts out those mouth breathers up a ladder with a flag in one hand and a beer in the other, threatening the homeowner outside whose house they're zip-tying our national colours to the lamppost. I would gladly swap a similar number of those people for a random selection of asylum seekers. And on average, the country would be better off for it. The only problem would be which country would take our rejects. Spain, obviously, but only for 2 weeks in August, and then we'd be stuck with them again, yelling about our country as though they've actually lifted a finger to help the nation that they affect to feel so patriotic about. I bet the Mail thought this assignment, asking 100-year-olds what they thought of the country, would have been a slam dunk, a hat-trick, a bullseye, hit for 6, something equivalent in rugby. Don't ask me. I can't believe it's a sport. Bunch of steroidal freaks running into each other. That's not a controversial thing to say, is it?
No.
But it wasn't a slam dunk, hat-trick, bullseye, hit for 6 or something equivalent in rugby because, and I'm just guessing here, maybe the senior citizens they chose don't read the Daily Mail or the Express or the Telegraph or the Times or the Sun. But a lot of people do. And even more people read the demented outpourings of social media sites. And those are the people that said in a poll that Britain's culture is changing too fast, which I think is code for "I once spotted a blackface on the bus." This poll by researchers at King's College London and Ipsos Mori also showed that half of the respondents feel Britain's culture is changing too fast. And I would guess that they live in places that haven't changed at all. Reform voting, Brexit supporting places that are so white they could star in their own Daz advert. Survey says 8 in 10 Britons feel the nation is divided, up 5 percentage points from 2 years ago and 10% since 2020. Which shouldn't be a surprise in a country that's been told on a daily basis for all of those years that we should think we are divided. I mean, that's the beauty of propaganda, isn't it? You keep telling people that the thing they can't see is real and they'll come to believe it. We're not any more divided than we ever were. How divided we are is a function of being a human being. I mean, we come together to take on a challenge that threatens us all, like war, the thing that these older people were being interviewed about. And as soon as the external threat is over, we go back to looking out for ourselves. It's the basis of society. Capitalism, growth, progress, and everything else that it is to be human, or indeed any animal. Social up to a point, then competitiveness or greed, or whatever you want to call it, kicks in. It's precisely why we shouldn't be run by successful business people, because they became successful not by being kind and generous and open. To become successful in business, you have to be ruthless. Empathy is a weakness, as Elon Musk said. So whenever some oily charlatan tells you that we should get people who have made fortunes in business to run the government...
Warning, warning!
Remember that relying on the kindness of strangers only works if the person you're relying on is kind. That poll found, no surprise, that nostalgia played a big role in people thinking that the country has gone to the dogs. Get this. Nostalgia for Britain's past rose in every single age group, even among 16 to 24-year-olds. This is how ludicrous nostalgia is. It makes you yearn wistfully for a past that never existed. 16 to 24-year-olds say the country used to be better. Almost a third of the people in that age bracket wanted Britain to return to how it used to be. When? In 2015? Has it changed that much?
No.
Of course not. You know, but those 16 to 24-year-olds spend most of their life gawping at their phones, which feed them a diet of how everything is awful and it's all somebody else's fault. Specifically, somebody that doesn't look like you. I think the forces of evil are at the door. They wedged it open in America and they're ransacking the country, while the occupants look the other way, trying to convince themselves that everything will be okay as long as they let the barbarians have anything that they want.
I love the poorly educated.
And they're trying to do that here too. And in a few years, let's say in the year 2100, will centenarians then be saying that they wish the country could be like it was in the 2020s, when they were 20-something? Or will they be saying that they're sad that we fell into the trap that other countries did, and we were gullible enough to elect a con artist who preyed on people's innate anger and hatred of others to make the country a place they're glad to see the back of 75 years later? You decide. Literally, it's your decision.
Hello, it's Beth Rigby from Sky News here.